there's some kind of transcendental, crone-like, aged joy that comes from watching things grow. Looking at my garden every morning with my rubber boots, wandering out there, there's mist coming off my shoulders because I'm coming out of the hot house into the cool summer morning. And the birds are just starting to sing. And I'm just looking, I'm like, ooh, everything's like 2 inches higher. Ooh, I never thought I'd say it, Sandra. I just love it. It makes me feel calm, makes me feel connected. Something about growing your food, which is multiplied in the times we live in by a billion. Last year, when things were going sideways, I had all these fresh vegetables that I shared with my neighbors. I shared with friends. I was giving
Nice.
everybody I knew potatoes. And it felt like I was contributing to something. I don't know.
That's amazing. So has gardening always been such an important part of your life?
Not the way it has been this last 10 years. Probably um, my mom and dad always had a garden, always, always, always. And I really begrudged being forced to go weeding. We didn't have garden boxes back in the day. I don't think my parents would have paid money for lumber or an extra loan to fill them up. They literally were out there with a hoe, breaking up kind of crappy clay ridden ground and plunking things in, crossing their fingers. But we just were so, I don't know, put off by having to go out and work in that garden and do things. But my mom and dad always had one. And man, did we ever appreciate the peas. I remember being, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old and going down that row of peas and picking them and having my dad so mad if you picked them when they weren't ready yet. But the ones that aren't ready, the peas, you just want to eat the whole pod flat, right? You just chew them up. But
Exactly.
having new potatoes, with salt and pepper and butter or olive oil, beet greens, I never thought I'd like those when I was 15 years old, but I loved beet greens. And I still to this day, I plant extra beets because obviously you pull them up when they're quite young. And there's just something really zen about it. I always encourage people, they'll say to me, oh, I wish, I lived in the country. And I'm like, I'm telling you, if you have a window and a pot, you can throw yourselves in a handful of carrots and beets and some herbs. And even, I have young friends that just bought a house with a tiny little yard. They're on a semi-attached. They're going to put a little garden in this year, and they're so excited about it. And they're in
Nice.
their 30s. I'm like, do it. I said,
Yes.
we don't know how to do it. I'm like, they know what to do. Just give it water and sunshine. That's all. Just go out and stare at it and sing to it and water it. You're going to have something come up out of that ground.
So is that your number
Okay,
one tip for beginning gardeners?
just do it. Don't be frightened of it. Oh, I had the whole bag of seeds and they were doing so good. And in this country, end of May, it's not unheard of to get frost, not unheard of to get snow in June. So I learned the hard way. Mom would always say, I'd go take some tea towels and throw them over those tomatoes because it's supposed to be cold. And my mom's no longer here, but she's still informing my decisions. I will hear her go, it's supposed to be really cold. I'd go put a tea towel on those cucumbers. And so I do. I've got my armfuls of, cotton, thin, old, crappy tea towels, and I'm laying them over everything. And I'm
Aw,
so happy in the morning when I see that touch of frost on the glass around my belt, around the deck, or on the tips of the grass. I'm like, oh, yes. And I've also got a 10-foot fence around my garden
you
because I have
do?
deer.
Ah, that's why.
Yeah. There would be nothing left. And they would love any fresh little tiny things that were pushing themselves out of the ground.
Right.
So I will see them congregate there, and I've seen them have the deers have their noses into the small chicken wire square with a tongue trying to grab a twisty little delicate pea shoot that is kind of migrating its way over to the fence. And honestly, it really is cute to see them just, oh, I think I can get it. I think I can get it. Pretty sweet.
Totally. So what changed 10 years ago for you? What inspired you to really get into gardening then?
I don't know what happens within the human soul and the human heart, connectivity that you start wanting to seek out. Uh, and, young people, millennials, may not think it'll ever happen to them, and it will, because time bends us all in the same way. And then something happens, and it is the idea that you're part of something much bigger than that, and watching things grow and having a deep appreciation for life and living.